A really common source of confusion in Infusionsoft is trying to remember what the campaigns you set up 6, 9 or 12 months ago are actually supposed to do. And remembering which ones are active, what triggers each campaign, what the goal of each campaign is. And you end up a bit like the chap down here, where you're like, help, I can't remember what all my campaigns are actually supposed to do anymore. Perhaps it was easy in the beginning. So in the beginning, when you first set up your Infusionsoft account, maybe you ended up with a training campaign, which the guys on the Kickstart team maybe went through with you. Then maybe you delve in and you set up some campaigns of your own. So maybe you set up a networking campaign, maybe you set up a campaign for hot leads. And this was maybe fine in the beginning when you had, say, 5 or 10 campaigns. But over time, what happens is this balloons to the point where maybe you have 50 campaigns, 100 campaigns. And a major problem is that you can't remember what each campaign is actually supposed to do. So maybe, for example, you go into campaign 34 here, which is cryptically called report examples, and you find something like this. And suddenly it's not very obvious what report examples is actually meant to do, who it's trying to work with, what the end goals of the campaign are. And you end up having to be like Inspector Morse, trying to come back and figure out who done it, what was done, why was it done. And I don't know about you, but personally, I am not Inspector Morse, and I don't really enjoy coming into someone's Infusionsoft account and trying to figure out what was set up and why it was set up in that way. Today I'm going to share with you 3 really practical, really easy ways to help organize your Infusionsoft account. The first thing I think you should do is maintain a consistent campaign naming convention. What I suggest that you do is follow the syntax type and then use a pipe sign. So the pipe sign for me is next to the left shift button on my keyboard. So type campaign name and then a time. So if the campaign is specific to Q1 or Q3, or if it's a July promotion, then put the time at the end. So that means that if, for example, you needed to filter all of the campaigns that were targeting Q3 in 2015, then you could do a search in the campaign list for campaigns that have Q3 2015 as part of the campaign name. So this is an example of some of my campaigns. So I don't always use the time period part of the syntax. So if you've got a campaign that basically is an ongoing campaign that just deals with inbound web leads, for example, then that isn't quarter specific or month specific, so you don't need to put the time part on. But I would always have the type and the campaign name. So the big reason for putting the type in the campaign name is if I want to, for example, see all of my sales campaigns, I can go to the search box here and I can put sales and the pipe sign, and then Infusionsoft will filter all the campaigns to show me only the sales campaigns. So this becomes really useful as your campaign list starts to grow. Not only does it make it easy to search, but it also tells someone coming into your Infusionsoft account a lot more about what the campaign is and what it's trying to do. The second idea I think you should take on is giving your goals and sequences really descriptive names and making use of notes on the campaign builder. So something that I do on all of my campaigns is I include a note in the top left that explains what the purpose of the campaign is, what triggers the campaign, what the end point of the campaign should be, and if relevant, what the end date of the campaign is. I think you'll find this really useful because, again, this is like the ultimate clue for someone coming in later on and trying to figure out what the purpose of the campaign actually is. The other thing that I see people doing really badly is naming their goals and their sequences. So if you have a look at the example on the screenshot below, you'll see that I've actually named my goals and my sequences very carefully. So I haven't just left the goal, the web form goal, as submit web form, because that doesn't actually tell me anything. I've renamed it to be online inquiry sidebar form. That tells me exactly what form it was that someone submitted to start this campaign. The sequence after that doesn't just say, new lead or something cryptic like that. It says set up the opportunity, assign owner, create first task. Without me having to even go into the sequence, the name of the sequence tells me what that sequence is trying to do, which again, for someone playing Inspector Morse trying to figure out what your campaigns are trying to do, this is really, really helpful. And it's not rocket science. It isn't complicated to set this up. It just takes a bit of thought in the beginning to think it through in the first place. The third idea I'd like you to take on is the idea of creating a log of the active campaigns that you have running at the moment. Because a problem with the Infusionsoft campaign list is that you can see which campaigns are published, but you can't really see which ones are quote unquote active. And by active, I mean the ones that you're actively using at the moment. So you can see how many active contacts are in a campaign, which is, a reasonable indication of whether a campaign is active or not. But something that I find helpful is actually to create a spreadsheet of the campaigns that are actually active and include a few bits of extra information. So this is an example of one of my documents where I'll log the campaign ID, the campaign name, I'll make a note of the audience, and then I'll make a note of the target outcome of a campaign. And these campaigns are the only ones that I consider to be active and the ones that I'm actively working on. So this becomes quite useful then. So when you come to do your monthly or your bi-monthly Infusionsoft audit, which maybe is something we'll talk about in another video, you can then open this spreadsheet and prioritize these campaigns, the ones that you need to review to check that they're actually doing what you need them to do. So just to summarize, the three things that we've talked about today are naming your campaigns appropriately and using a consistent naming syntax so that you can search for your campaigns, but also provide a bit of information in the campaign name as to what the goal of the campaign actually is. We talked about renaming your goals and your sequences to be more descriptive and using notes on the campaign builder. And finally, we talked about creating a log of active campaigns so that when it comes time to do your Infusionsoft account audit, you can see which campaigns are actually active and which campaigns you need to focus on. And having these three steps in place means that I am no longer Inspector Morse, but I am a happy Infusionsoft consultant. And it isn't just me coming in. I mean, this will help maintain your sanity working in Infusionsoft, and it'll help maintain the sanity of anyone who internally works on your campaigns, particularly if that person doesn't actually work for you at the moment. So if you've got a member of staff coming on board in a few months' time, and part of their role is going to be working in Infusionsoft, working on the campaigns, it's going to be really, really helpful to them if you take it on these three steps.